Well, we are down today for whatever reason. After a test, back to the store. I looked at that multiple choice number 10, and $250 was definitely that answer. That was not a secretary mistake. That was from a test bank. So the author made that mistake, not the secretary. Something happens like that again, just write on that question, even on the Scantron, just put 2.50, right on the Scantron. However, it is what it is, and of course, I could take the attitude, what's your problem, what's your complaint? I let you omit 2, I only came the best 8. Okay, that would be my first comment. I will go back and look at that. If somebody put 279 as an answer, which was the closest answer on the test, or if you wrote it in, if I can find any reason to give you credit for that, I'll do it.
So what, okay, the 79 for
Number 10 on the multiple choice. That was that $250. Now, how did you do that with Giorgio? Did you,
I got 2.5.
you wrote 2.5 on the test? So Giorgio had asked me that while he was taking the test. And I told him, I should have told everybody to write the test. Or if I'd have noticed it before, I should have told everybody to put a decimal in that 250. And it would have been there. All right, let's see who made it today. Lisa, I guess you're still live streaming. Lisa, need to contact me about taking a test. Yeah, that's the wrong process. Bailey, I think she took the test. Cody, here. Monique, here. Kayla Cox, it's not like her to be absent.
Hope she's okay.
Yeah, I hope so, because she probably got the best attendance. Anybody, well, Giorgio has good attendance. Gary French, who uses live stream. Clayton. He's out busting somebody. Brianna, not here. Retina is here. Adam is here. Mason, he's in finance. Samuel, Mark, Anna, I think Anna took the test. Maya did not take the test. Haley did take the test. Zachary lives a couple hours from here, or something. That's ready for him to take this test of one life. Tanner Sims and Stevens and Antonio is here. And how about Greg? Have you seen him, Antonio?
I didn't talk to him
All right, let's put this test behind us. And I won't commit to dropping a low test grade. I think all of you can pull this test grade up. Giorgio, you made what, a 99 on the test? And there were some other A's on the test, and there was not some good on the test. So, but if the next test is bad, don't take this as a reason to do bad, but I'll probably end up dropping a low test grade if we get in 4. So that gives everybody a change. One reason, I look at you one semester, I don't want to see you again. Okay, so I'd like to get out of here. Okay, but anyway, Clayton, I didn't see you there. I was counting your absent. You should have spoke up. I said you were out complaining with somebody.
I mean, everybody complained about me.
No, nobody complains about you. He was sitting right there, so. Okay, let's look at process accounting. And I told you before, everything you have in your possession, your clothes, your jewelry, your watches, your rings, pencils, books, they're all done in a process, okay? Job order is just a special job that we talked about. Now, automobiles is a process, but probably police cars can be special ordered, or taxi cab, or handicap cars, what have you. Probably could get a car built to your specs for some of those conditions. I know I was in Detroit, and in the summer between classes, and I know one summer I worked at Chrysler, and then one summer I went up there and I was a carpet layer, and I think that summer I was a carpet layer during the day. Then at night I had a part-time job for Chrysler, driving their vehicles. Now, what this was, they put their vehicles out the median between the 4-lane, and they had to get downtown Detroit to a transportation yard. So we would just go jump in a vehicle, and we had a shuttle that would follow us down. And it's mostly policemen. I got to know some of the policemen, and one of them gave me a police badge that I put on my vehicle, got me out of a lot of tickets coming from Detroit to Virginia. The police would just come up and wave and so on. But anyhow, those vehicles, we would just jump in them. And of course, one, downtown Detroit, I wasn't familiar with that place. I heard it could be bad. So I definitely was following everybody else. I wasn't going to stop. And I had a new Dodge pickup that started overheating, and I kept driving it and burned up every wire on the engine. So I had to pull it up and park and let them worry about picking it up. Another one, I got in a Dodge van, and it was foggy, and driving it off that medium out to the 4-lane, I ran into electric pole guide wire, bent the whole top of that van back. So that's I got fired. But they needed me. They called me and hired me back next week. So I jumped into an Army vehicle. I'm talking about job order. At that time, Chrysler was doing a lot of job order for the Army. I jumped into an Army vehicle, and that thing, I think it had 32-speed transmission. I mean, it had so many gears, my family gear that it would go in, and not flying too much, but that was special order. They did a lot of Jeeps and different kind of trucks for the Army. Okay, so job order, but back to process. In economics, process would be, you know, when you talk about competition, you've got pure competition, or you've got different types of competition. Oligopoly, I guess, where there's just a few making a product. But this would be probably pure competition, where there's many, many products made through the same process, many companies, and so on. So that's process accounting. All right. Now, we looked at these the other day. We'll quickly look at them again. Process costing is used for products that are, you see the answer, similar and produced continuously. Anything we got there and buy, it's still being produced continuously. Okay? Materials, labor, and overhead still goes into the product. Materials, labor, and overhead, just like job order. These three items go into work in process. Work in process goes to finished goods. Finished goods goes into cost of goods sold when you sell it. Same story as chapter 3. Processing departments, in automobile manufacturing, depends. When I worked at Chrysler, I worked at they call it a stamping plant. They just make small parts, maybe little panels go inside a door, or the frame for a headlight, or something like that. But even it went through steps. It went through a piece of blank metal, and it went through different steps on that assembly line till it was ready to be shipped somewhere to be put on a car. But automobiles, if you had all those parts, you definitely got an assembly department, don't you? And you definitely got a painting department. Now, the testing department, if it's part of it, we'd have to put that in the overhead. There's two departments, A and B. All right. Materials goes into working process A. Materials goes into working process B. And working process B might go into finished goods if that's the only department. And when you issue materials, you can do a compound entry. You'll keep ledgers down for each department. Direct labor, the same way, it goes into department A, B. Same time entry, type of entry, compound. Manufacturing overhead, applied, goes into department A and B. We know actual factory overhead, you debit factory overhead, you credit accounts payable, wages payable, accumulated depreciation, what have you. So here's your factory overhead, the applied. All right, transfer from A to B is debit to working process A, credit working process B, the proper journal entry. Transfer to finished goods, debit finished goods, and credit working process B. Now this is your cost of goods manufactured. All right, debit finished goods, credit working process B. Transfer from finished goods to cost of goods sold. This is when you sell it. You debit cost of goods sold, credit finished goods. So that's the flow, whether it's process or whether it's job order. That's the flow of cost in a factory. Now, you can't deny most of your accounting classes are made up of financial accounting. Intermediate is financial accounting. Advanced is financial accounting. Principles is financial accounting. Taxes is taxes. Okay? With Georgia this year, taxes, Trump came out with a new law. We don't have to study who's an exemption anymore. What qualifies as an exemption? Because you don't get an exemption on your 2018 taxes. Just get a standard deduction. So taxes is tax law. But we have two courses, manufacturing accounting. It should be cost accounting 1 and cost accounting 2, go into it deep. But it's managerial and cost accounting. All right, and factories, we know what a big part they play in this country. So in the top 10, probably 8 of them are manufacturing companies. One of them might be Exxon, an oil company. That's some kind of mining. You can apply manufacturing concepts to mining, coal mining, oil, what have you. And then, of course, Walmart's got to be in the top 10, which is a retailer. But most of our top 100 would be made up, a lot of them, of manufacturing companies. Now, once again, in the Bluefield region, are there any manufacturing companies besides Coca-Cola or Pepsi bottling companies? Even they are making a product, aren't they? They are manufacturing a product. Because if it's water and syrup and sugar or whatever else, make that product. So besides a bottling company, what other manufacturing companies do we have? We we have any clothing manufacturing company? What? Bluefield?
No, Bluefield, no.
How many of you have Nikes on? I see you have Nike.
You burn, what?
Y'all didn't burn your Nikes?
No.
You don't burn mine either.
I'll take it.
I'll be paid.
It costs too much to burn, don't it, Anthony? It costs too much. All right. Anyway, Nike stock went down for a day. It's back to what it was. You know, little things people get hung up about, so forth.
Starbucks
Yes.
holiday cup should be coming out soon.
What?
Starbucks holiday cup should be coming out soon.
Starbucks.
Starbucks, their holiday cups.
Oh, okay.
Everybody throws a fit over those every year.
Oh, okay. What do they come out? Are they negative fits or positive fits?
Usually negative. Last year it was a blank cup. They said Starbucks was against Christmas.
Oh,
That's good.
yeah. Okay. Those old people like Starbucks, don't they? Anyhow, that's your personal preferences, what have you. People have different opinions. That's what makes us all different. But anyhow, but Nike stock did come back up where it was before. Okay. But now in the Bluefield area, any other manufacturing companies? Don't make anything around here? Well, I know there's a lot of individuals making things. Go up to Tamarack. Have you ever been in Tamarack? All those products are handmade, aren't they? All the handmade products in West Virginia.
There was a processing plant for Dr. Pepper and Beckley.
Okay. But there's a lot of individual manufacturing. Now, Blue Wolf, they have a factory down here in Bluefield, Virginia, don't they? What does Blue Wolf make? They make a cleaning product. All right, I guess you can buy a Blue Wolf from Walmart, some of the grocery stores. All right, now Joy Manufacturing, I don't know if they are, I know Caterpillar, I don't know if they're making parts or not. Joy Manufacturing used to make equipment in the area, I don't know what they're still doing or not. Maybe some machine companies that make products. But used to be a clothing factory up in Blue Whale. They made, I guess, high school sweatshirts for the school and so forth. So I think it went out of business. But there may be manufacturing companies. I'm thinking of just look around, be observant. Okay? Be observant and you'll see some factories. Bluefield probably needs more factories. West Virginia needs more factories. All right, West Virginia has plenty of service business. They have plenty of retail business. And they have had plenty of mining business. I don't know if that's come back or not. Supposedly it's supposed to be back a little bit. But how about factories? All right, so that is the process. Transfer from finished goods to cost of goods sold, the entry. Process, cost, and concepts, 3 key concepts. Look at those concepts. There are 2 methods for performing the computation, the weighted average, the FIFO. Now, what are we talking about here? It didn't even tell you. It's equivalent units. And we practiced a couple of the other day. We're going to practice more today. What are the equivalent units? We will look at the weighted average first. Now, if you remember, we took the items transferred out times 100%. And we took ending inventory times whatever percent was given us. So let's look at the end of your chapter. Let's look at an exercise.
I have a question.
Yes.
Why don't we use the LIFO methods for calculating equivalent units?
Why not?
Yeah.
All right. We look at both methods in here. It's up to the company's preference. So they use weighted average for FIFO.
Well, why is LIFO left out?
There is no such thing as LIFO. Now, all right, LIFO and FIFO weighted average. We did that in principal accounting on inventory. You did it for periodic, and you did it for perpetual. You had 6 methods. Then you had a retail method and a gross profit method. Those 8 methods. And you could throw in a couple more in there. You could throw in a specific inventory method. That's that item plus its price. But this is not inventory as such. It's not finished. So there cannot be a LIFO. There cannot be a LIFO. Just weighted average and FIFO. Okay? Because we're making. We're not talking about finished product. Now, when you get to finished goods, you can use LIFO, FIFO, weighted average if you want to, because that's an inventory. It's already finished. But for work in process inventory, we don't have a LIFO. That's a good question, Georgia. Now, we'll look at those exercises in a minute. Conversion cost, we just look at as CC. Now, what is conversion cost? Direct labor and what? Overhead. Now, your other cost, your direct cost would be materials and labor. Labor is repeated in both of them. So now let's go to exercise, page 87, I guess. No, well, wait a minute. I'm way off. Way off. My book flipped pages on me.
It's 172.
Page 172, okay. We've got to look at the appendix in this chapter also. All right, look at exercise 2. I don't know if that's going to be what we want or not. This company uses the weighted average method in its process costing system. The following data is available. Now look at that one and your materials and your conversion cost. Now work in process October 1st, that's beginning inventory, and October 31st is ending inventory. Now the department started 175,000 units into production during the month and transfers 190. Now, first off, we need to get a handle on that terminology. Let me bring up Notepad here real quick. All right. Now, what was the beginning inventory? How many units?
30,000.
All right. How many did we start?
65.
Now, how many did we start? Exercise 2?
175.
175. All right. Now, these are units we have to account for. And you may have to use this later on. Now, that's 205, right? Now, ending inventory is 15. That means we transferred out 190, but they gave you that 190. So you've got to account for these 205. We have 15 left. We transferred out 190, and that's your 205. You got to be able to interchange those whenever you need to.
205 or 202?
What?
205 or 202?
205.
I think it's 202 because you have to If 1500 units times 80%, they done. So it's 1200, and you do 190 plus 1200, it's 202.
So you're ahead of me. You're trying to calculate equivalent units, and we've not started that yet. Equivalent units, you're probably right, Clayton. But this is just units in inventory beginning and starting. And this is ending and transferred out. But now in our calculation, and what I've told you I want, this thing don't always cooperate. All right, I wanted you to use transferred out. Now, how many did we transfer out?
190.
And we take that times 100%. That's still 190, isn't it?
Correct.
All right. Well, it's not dollars either. Now, ending inventory for materials, we have how many units?
15,000.
Now, Clayton, multiply that by what percent? Multiply that by 80, and what do you get? I will move this 190 downward. What's 80% of 15,000? Is it 12,000? Okay, so your equivalent units is 202, isn't it? 202. So Clayton must work ahead. Now that is for materials. Now you do the same thing. Do the same thing for conversion cost. You got 190 transferred out times 1. You've got 15 times what?
40.
Times decimal 40. And that's equal to what?
6,000.
So the equivalent units is 196,000 for conversion cost. For materials, it was 202. All right, so we've done exercise 2. We have finished exercise 2. All right, now I want you to do exercise 3. Take a minute and do that. Take a minute and do exercise 3, page 172. It gave you equivalent units, didn't it? I guess, or did it? It gave you equivalent units, so all you're doing is finding unit cost.
It's the fourth one down from the top.
I don't know, is it? I don't know if that's solution. It may just be chapter 1. Let's see. I've also got it on a desktop somewhere. It only gives me chapter 1. I know it's on here because I've showed you before. I know what I had to do. Yeah, I know what I had to do. Okay, go ahead and be doing. You should have that done an hour ago. Okay, do number 6. Be doing number 6. I had the solutions in chapter 4 on Moodle, but it's not wanting to power up. I had to put those on Moodle one chapter at a time. The company wouldn't let me download all of them. So those solutions are no good. I'll try to put those on there today for you. Okay, so we'll have to work the solutions. Back to problem exercise 4-3. When you add those up and divide by 35,000, what is your answer for materials? How much? Georgia, you got that one?
7.34.
734. That's for materials. All you got to do is add beginning cost and cost added. You had to do the same thing for labor. When you divide by 38,000 units, what did you get? How much, Cody? 2 point what? 6. That's $2.60. And then overhead, when When you divide by 38,000, what you get? Even? Okay. Now, if you took this total cost, what is the total cost if you add the 3? 20, is that 22.94? So, so for your finished goods, and if you wanted to sell these items, you might want to mark it up 50%, or you might want to mark it up 100%, what have you. But you need to know the unit price. Now, if we go over to exercise 6, compute the number of tons of pulp completed and transferred. Completed and transferred. I had this thing going a minute ago. Okay. Beginning working process was 20. And how many did you start?
190.
Okay. You got 210 you got to worry about. Okay. Now, that 210, how many of those do we have left and in an inventory? How many do we have left?
30,000.
So your answer to your first part is what?
180,000.
You completed and transferred 180. Okay. So once again, these two items has to give you 210. All right. Compute the equivalent units of production for materials and for labor and overhead. So if we're doing that for materials, transferred out was how many?
180,000.
All right, and your inventory has how many?
30,000.
For materials, how much complete?
60%.
60% of 30, is that 18?
It is.
That will give you
98.
All right, that's equivalent units for materials. Now, equivalent units for labor, I'm gonna make this easy on myself here. All right, 40%, right?
Correct.
That'd be 12,000. That'd be 192, correct?
Yes.
Things acting funny on me. Okay. All right, equivalent units, easy to do, right? Easy to do. All right. Homework from this chapter. I want you to practice 7. That's some journal entries. And 8 equivalent units, the weighted average. And 9 is equivalent units and cost per unit. Now, for those 3 exercises, what we've done today should help you along with number 7, number 8, number 9. Now, let's go to your textbook for FIFO.
That's the problem. It's not behind. No problem.
Was FIFO in the appendix?
Yeah.
Okay. That's why I said we'd have to go into the appendix if we need to.
Page 181.
All right, 181, the appendix, FIFO. Now, under FIFO, you do need the beginning inventory. You do need the ending inventory. And you need started and completed. Now, we transferred out a minute ago 180 or whatever. But they were finished They were transferred out, but were they started and finished? You don't start your beginning inventory, right? So here is exactly what you need, beginning inventory. Now, if it gives you 40% complete, you got to complete the remainder. So normally you'll have to subtract, and that would be 60%. All right, started and completed is still time 100%, but it's not the same thing as transferred out. Okay, so let's look at page 182. You can look at that red there, equipment units to complete, beginning inventory. I'd rather you just forget about that. Let's go down and look at the example, exhibit 418. I don't know where they got their information from. Units started and completed, equivalent units.
From the paragraph above.
I'm just wondering, yeah. Okay, in the paragraph above, let's sort that out into what I'm telling you here. They transferred 4,800 units to graphics. Now, I don't know if they tell you the inventory or not. The shipping and milling department must have started and completed 4,600. So they're saying they started and completed. They are giving you that. During May, the 200 units in the beginning working process were 55% completed. Why do I multiply by 45%?
Because you not complete.
You got to finish them, don't you? So what's 45% of 200? Is that 90?
It is.
All right, ending inventory. Now that's 30% for labor. Thus, to complete these units, the department must have added another 45% of materials cost, blah, blah. It's just telling you. But what does it tell you the ending inventory is? We've got the 90 and we've got the 4,600. Okay, did they have an ending inventory 400 units? And they finished 40% of those. So what's 40% of 400? 160? Now, when you add these together, you get 4,850. Now, that's what they're showing you at the bottom here. 90, 46, 160, right? That was for materials. Now, you'd have to do it for labor also. But to understand that, we need to work a problem, of course. And we got to do cost per equivalent unit. So we're going to turn to a exercise on this page 186. All right. Now you got to go back to exercise 2 in the chapter and do that same exercise using FIFO. Where is exercise 2? Page what? Go back to page 172. Do exercise 2 using FIFO. So take a minute and do that. Okay, let's look at that one. Beginning inventory was 65% complete as to materials. If we've already put 65% of materials in it, how much do we now have to put? 35. Now, ending inventory, 15,000, 80% complete. That is our cost this period. So remember, on the first one, we're subtracted. On the ending inventory, we are not. Now, how many units did you start and complete?
300.
How many? We started 175.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, that's wrong.
All right, I'm gonna put this answer up here. Now you tell me how we got it. Tell me how I got 160.
The 175 minus 15,000.
Well, that's one way. We started 175. If we have 15 of them left, we must have started to complete 160, right? But look at it the other way. If we started, look at it, we shipped out how many?
190.
And 30 of those was from beginning inventory. So we must have started and finished how many?
160.
There's two ways to find that 160 is what I'm trying to tell you. Two ways to find it. It's got to be started and completed. It's not transferred out anymore like weighted average. All right, so that's 160. What's 35% of 30? How much? I heard 2,000.
10,500.
Oh, 10,005. Okay, and then how about 8% of 15,000? That's still 12, isn't it? If you add them together, you get 172, 182. Is that right? 182.5? Is that correct? 182.5. All right, now can you do labor? Take a minute and do labor for exercise 4.2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2 Okay, now 30,000 in beginning inventory. How much finished for labor? How much have we done last period? 30? How much do we have to do this period? When I say labor, I mean conversion costs, labor and overhead. How much? We finished 30% last period. We got to finish how much this period?
70.
Okay. And ending inventory, we finished 40%. Now work that out. This is 21, I guess. 40% of 15,000, is that 6,000?
It is.
So your answer is 187.
That's correct.
All right, so we got to be able to find equivalent units, FIFO.
How did we get 160?
All right, Giorgio, two ways. Let's take the 175 that was started, right? Now, we figure that we finished those in beginning inventory. And those we started, we have 15 left. So we must have started 175 and completed 160. You follow that way, right? Let's look at it another way. We shipped out 190, transferred out. Now we have figured that we finished the beginning inventory. How many was in beginning inventory? All right, so that still leaves us 160, no matter which inventory you work with. 160 started and completed. All right, so let's do number 5, page 173. Number 5, using FIFO. Do number 5 using FIFO.
So what was the last answer? We have it up.
Do what?
What was the last answer after we had it?
What was that? 180 what, somebody?
That's right.
187 even. 187 even. Take a moment and do this one.
5? 6.
Oh, 6, I'm sorry, 6. Yeah, same one we did before, number 6, yeah. Okay, for sake of time, let me give you a couple of pointers on this one. Remember, you started 190, right? You had 20 in beginning inventory. So you have 210 you've got to account for. Now, out of those 210, how many are in ending inventory?
3.
All right, how many did we transfer out? 180. Now, with that information, then you should be able to finish how many was started and completed. Now, if we transferred out 180, how many of those were in beginning inventory? So we must have started and completed 160. Close to it, Mark?
Yeah, almost 6 first, I'm gonna change.
All right. So finish that problem, add that on to your homework, and let me get over to the appendix A, which do exercise 4.8-6 homework. That's what you're working on right now. And do exercise 4.8-7. Okay, you got 5 or 6 little exercises to work on. Average, unit cost, FIFO, unit cost. Okay, then we got to look at the other appendix in this chapter also.
percent.